You walk out of the gym under those perfect overhead lights, and your muscles look incredibly full and dense. But 2 hours later, standing in your bathroom under normal lighting, that size has completely vanished. The fullness you saw has flattened out. What you experienced was a temporary metabolic swell, universally known as the pump. When you lift weights, your body rapidly redirects a localized rush of blood and water straight into the working tissue. This rush of fluid has a very specific biological purpose. It delivers oxygen and nutrients to the area while flushing out the acidic waste products created by exercise. It is a highly effective, functional response to physical stress, but it does not represent a physical, structural change to the muscle itself. This animated diagram of a muscle cell shows exactly what is happening. The cell rapidly inflates with that rush of fluid, a state called sarcoplasmic expansion. But as the diagram shows, it slowly deflates back to its baseline size. Think of it like giving a car a fresh, glossy coat of paint. It looks fantastic pulling out of the shop, but it is a temporary cosmetic change. It doesn't add any actual horsepower to the engine. Building your entire workout routine around the immediate gratification of a muscle pump means you are chasing a fleeting physiological state. The swelling will always subside, leaving you searching for a way to build hard-coded, permanent muscle density. Along with the pump, there is a widespread belief that severe post-workout soreness, or feeling a deep burning sensation during a set, means you are successfully triggering muscle growth. That burning feeling is simply metabolic exhaustion. It indicates that you have caused superficial tissue damage and depleted the local energy stores in that specific area. Breaking a muscle down until it aches does not automatically force the body to add brand new fibers during the recovery process. To understand how actual tissue remodeling happens, we have to look past the visible reactions like swelling and soreness. The true catalyst for building dense muscle relies entirely on invisible electrical signals generated deep inside your brain. Physical exhaustion is a deceptive metric. Your central nervous system, which controls those electrical signals, dictates your actual genetic muscle limit. If we go back to our car analogy, your muscular system is the heavy engine block, but that engine cannot fire on its own. Your central nervous system is the complex electrical wiring that connects to the engine and tells it exactly when and how hard to fire its cylinders. This is exactly why beginners experience rapid, massive increases in their strength during their first few weeks in the gym. They are lifting much heavier weights, yet they haven't added a single ounce of new physical muscle mass to their frames. Their bodies are simply upgrading the wiring. This diagram shows a process called neuromuscular efficiency. Right now, the brain is emitting a weak, thin electrical signal down the spinal column. Because the current is faint, the brain is only able to map and wake up a very sparse, superficial layer of dormant muscle fibers. Watch what happens when the brain cranks up the quality of that electrical command. The signal intensifies into a rapid pulse, bypassing the shallow tissue and illuminating a much wider, deeper network of fibers. By improving the electrical signal, the muscle can now endure significantly more mechanical tension. Before the human body will invest the immense calories and energy required to build brand new physical tissue, it must first maximize the recruitment of the muscle it already has by upgrading this internal electrical wiring. The human body is incredibly efficient with its resources. It relies on a rule known as the size principle. This means the body prefers to use its smallest, weakest muscle fibers for everyday tasks, strictly saving its largest, most growth-prone fibers, called high-threshold fibers, for extreme physical emergencies. These deep, stubborn fibers are inherently lazy. They refuse to participate in a lift unless the brain generates an absolute maximum neurological output, forcing those thick biological cables to snap violently into action to handle the emergency tension. This biological reality is why a common gym habit known as junk volume is so counterproductive. Junk volume means performing dozens of lightweight, non-threatening repetitions, usually with the sole goal of chasing that burning sensation or filling the muscle with blood. This diagram illustrates the problem with those extra lightweight reps. The battery meter represents your central nervous system's energy capacity. As the small, superficial fibers fire repeatedly to handle the light weight, the battery drains rapidly. It acts as a parasite, entirely depleting your neurological energy before your brain can ever reach peak output. Because the battery hits zero prematurely, the muscle achieves that temporary metabolic swell and fills with fluid, but those deep, high-threshold fibers remain totally dark and inactive. Exhausting your nervous system with junk volume creates a permanent plateau. You physically prevent your brain from firing the emergency electrical signals required to engage your largest muscle fibers, leaving your true genetic ceiling entirely out of reach. To break past that ceiling, you have to change how you approach every single repetition. You must stop training for a feeling of physical exhaustion and start training to produce a specific, high-output neurological signal. The most effective strategy to generate this signal is a concept called intent to move. This requires extreme mental effort. You focus entirely on trying to push a heavy weight as explosively and violently as possible, even if the sheer weight on the bar means the physical movement itself is actually very slow. Applying that intense psychological focus toward explosive movement throws your nervous system into overdrive. It commands the brain to skip past the small, superficial fibers and bypass metabolic fatigue entirely. This deliberate, focused electrical command from your brain is what finally forces those stubborn, deep-seated muscle fibers to engage. This split-screen diagram shows the final difference between the two training methods. On the left is the temporary cellular pump we explored earlier. On the right, we see the creation of permanent, solid muscle tissue. Instead of just adding water, the body is bolting new protein strands directly onto the muscle's existing framework, essentially building a bigger, denser engine hardware from the inside out. Reaching your genetic potential requires following 3 strict rules. Ignore the temporary ache of soreness, eliminate the fatiguing junk volume from your workouts, and prioritize heavy mechanical tension combined with an explosive intent to move. Mastering the output of your central nervous system is the only scientifically proven way to stop renting a temporary, deflating physique and finally build absolute, hard-coded muscle density.